Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is going to be developing a trend following system episode 3. So, I was just able to find a couple hours to work on this. So, I decided to do so. And then now that I'm finished up, I'm going to just make this quick update video. Um, didn't do a whole lot as I didn't have a lot of time to put into it. But what I did was I added. So on the previous one, I only had outside bets. So I have added the dozens and columns to it. So basically, it's all the same criteria. I just had to translate it over to dozens and columns. I haven't changed any of the specific trend, uh, any of the system data itself. All I did was add the dozens and columns compatibility. So one thing I am toying with is I've noticed it's quite sensitive to how many uh, empty spins you give it to start the trend. I'm realizing through some testing I'll go over in just a second that that really needs to be dialed in. But anyway, just want to let you know I've added that. Um, and just like with the outside bets, sometimes you can get really sick trends with the dozens and columns, just like this. This is a third dozen trend right here. Pretty gnarly. As you can see, did quite well with the flat bet and quite well with the Oscars grind. But anyway, other than that, I decided to once I did that, I was like, well, let me just get 1,000 spins and go through and manually test 1,000 spins on the outside bets and the same 1,000 spins on the dozens and columns, and then compare them. And so I did that. I only did 1,000 spins because the nature of this system. I have to do a lot of manual work to test it. I can't just drag and drop 50,000 spins. So just doing 1,000 spins actually took me an hour just to do that. So unfortunately, all I had time for was 1,000, but it's pretty interesting. So here are the results. Let me just make this a little bigger. Again, same 1,000 spins on both. The blue line is, let's do this. The blue line is the outside bets. The orange line is the dozens and columns. So, a couple of things I just want to point out first that struck me was obviously, and it makes sense, you would expect a little bit more volatility. Let's do them this way. Let's put the flat bet over here. Oscar's round over here. There's quite a bit more volatility in the dozens and columns, which you would expect. But also, I just noticed, I guess one of the benefits of having to go through this testing manually is it almost feels like I'm playing, so I can see easy improvements as I'm going through the testing. Like there was one that stuck out to me right away that I've already made. I went ahead and made the improvement right after I got done with this testing. And that was what I just mentioned before about how sensitive it is to how many you wait to get the trend started. So I've backed it. I realize it improves it decreases the volatility greatly on the dozens and columns if you back excuse me, if you back this up to instead of just 5 spins, if you back it up to 10. So that's going to improve that quite a bit. But another thing that I thought was really interesting was look how close they ended up. How weird is that? So the outside bets ended up plus 141 units, and the dozens and columns ended up at plus 143. I thought that was really strange, and I'm wondering if there's something to it. I can't really say if there is or not because again, this is only 1,000 spins. I'd have to run, a few more thousand and see if that pattern holds. But I did find that rather interesting. Obviously, if they're going to end up in the same path, you'd rather take the blue path, the path to the outside, because it's a much smoother path. And that also makes sense, right? I've spent a lot more time on the outside, refining and honing it in, and just copying the same mechanism over to the outside or the dozens and columns, you wouldn't expect it to be. What I'm saying is I optimized it for the outside EC bets, and so basically I can tell I'm going to have to re-optimize it specifically for the dozens and columns. And I bet if I spent some time doing that, I could really smooth it out. Um, but that'll just take time. But anyway, those are some interesting thoughts I had. Also, so here is flat bet. So this is just assuming you flat bet. I thought it was pretty. I was really impressed with this. 1,000 spin flat bet for it to perform, for the outside to perform the way it did. The dozens and columns was flat to down, which is fine if you're using a progression. You can handle flat to slightly down with a good progression and still do well. But obviously you'd rather have this. And anyway, I just thought that was rather impressive. And it kind of tells me that maybe I'm on the right track. So anyway, that's really it. Those are the updates. Those are the things I wanted to point out. Um, Going to probably in the next times I get to work on this, just work on optimizing the dozens and columns, see if I can improve that, and just go from there. Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any comments, leave them down below, and I'll see you next.